Alright, you know what time it is? It's Iron Maiden time, baby! That means Iron Maiden t-shirts, Iron Maiden bobbleheads, Iron Maiden vinyl, Iron Maiden everything! Ah! Sorry about that guy, guys. Hey, Noah's Niche's here, reviews for niche and not so niche music, coming at you today with an Iron Maiden tier list.
Yes! Hell yeah! Hey, come on, baby! Come on! Yes! Come on!
Now, I wanted to do something that I wanted to do for fun after I had reviewed the atrocities of Man's Best Friend and The Life of a Showgirl, so here we are today. If you do not know, Maiden is a renowned metal act from Great Britain, and they are one of metal's best and most iconic bands in my opinion. But without further ado, let's get into the tier list. Alright, so here we have our tier list, alright? Pretty simple. Some things to get into before we start this tier list. Let's say I have 3 albums in any given tier. The farthest to the left is the one I like the most, the farthest to the right is the one I like the least. So we have more of a sequential order here. Make sense? Alright, let's dive in. Alright, Iron Maiden's debut record. I'm feeling a good tier. This album has some great tracks that I love to come back to, like Prowler, Remember Tomorrow, Running Free, and of course Phantom of the Opera. The first half of this album is stellar. Some more deep cuts on this album, like the name of the band, Iron Maiden, and Charlotte the Harlot, are also ones that I love to come back to. It's a very solid freshman album, and this album starts with Paul Di'Anno on vocals as the band's singer, and he brings more of a punk energy to the first 2 Maiden albums that I really dig and enjoy. Some great lyric writing here too. It's a good tier for me. Alright, next up is Killers. I'm going to be so straightforward with you guys. I am not that big a fan of this record. Some of it is just too much filler for me. Of course, I do like songs like Wrathchild, Murders in the Rue Morgue, Killers, and Prodigal Son. All the other songs I don't really get into that much because they don't really capture my attention like the other songs do. This album does have a better and more refined production as well as just performances in general from the other bandmates, but I don't know. I still kind of like the rawness from their debut record. I'm gonna put Killers in a low good tier behind their debut. Alright, moving on. Paul Di'Anno left the band and in comes Samson, singer and renowned vocalist for this band, Bruce Dickinson. Now, if you don't know, Bruce Dickinson is a behemoth of a singer. He's one of the GOATs of all time, if you ask me. And he really brings a certain energy that the band didn't have before Paul Di'Anno left. And it's just crazy. Imagine you just join a band and then you release one of the most popular and renowned metal albums of all time. Next up, we have 1982's Number of the Beast. Number of the Beast is an amazing record and a great junior record for a band like this. In the early 80s, really solidifying themselves already as great metal acts. Honestly, I love every song on this album to a degree, barring 22 Acacia Avenue, but that's pretty much it. Invaders is so good with the main vocal line and hook that Bruce sings in this track. Underrated gem, The Children of the Damned. I love that song, as well as The Prisoner. The Prisoner is my favorite track on this record and has some great work with the chorus, and it's just really catchy. Of course, you have the hits like the title track Number of the Beast, Hallowed Be Thy Name, and of course, everyone's favorite, Run to the Hills. All in all, this album is a very strong contender in Maiden's discography and also sets the bar for what's to come, but it does get beaten. We will get into that later though. For now, this is a masterpiece of a record, right where it belongs. And next up, 1983's Peace of Mind. And with this album, we have Clive Burr, the drummer for the band, at the time leaving for Nico McBrain to come in, which is the drummer that has stayed with the band ever since this album came out. Nico also brought another angst level to the band that I really like. I love his style and playing, and it really made Maiden have more of their own style when he joined. As for this record, it's pretty good. It's got some really good moments. You have The Trooper, Die With Your Boots On, Fly With Icarus, of course the opening track, Where Eagles Dare, and my favorite, Revelations. I will say, however, that the second half of this record is kind of lackluster, as I only like 2 songs, Sun and Steel and Tame the Land. I don't really care for the other 2 that much, and it's really a shame because the first half of this record is stellar, and the second half is kind of forgettable. it feels like the band just stopped trying on the second half of the album. But for the most part, stellar writing here, great vocals from Bruce once again. The band is still fully at it. I'm gonna put this album in a high grade album tier. Next up, we have the fan favorite album, Power Slave. Hey, it's the shirt. Honestly, every song on this record is amazing in its own right to a degree. You have the hits Aces High and 2 Minutes to Midnight, which all the fans know and love, and they're two very infectious songs and just very memorable to listen to. I love the instrumental Lost for Words. I don't know why. I really love how groovy it is and how Nico McBrain carries this song with his thundering drums that just keep finale of the song, and I really love it. Of course, you have Power Slave and Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner, which I also really dig into. I love how Egyptian this title track sounds, and I do like how mythical the song Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner is, which again is about a mythical being. And then you have the deeper cuts like Flash of the Blade, The Duelist, and Back in the Village. Again, really strong songs considering they're not really the main points of this record compared to the other tracks on the album. I love this record. It has Bruce powering through with his very high range, and I love it. Steve writing very good riffs and memorable licks for the band. Again, band just firing on full cylinders. Probably the best moment in their career up to this point. Power Slave is getting a high masterpiece above Number of the Beast for me. It edges it out because I do listen to this record more often than I do Number of the Beast. And next up, we have Somewhere in Time. I really love this record. This record is my favorite album of all time. I cannot understate how slept on this album is, in my opinion. You have some new synths that the band introduces, but in my opinion, it really helps elevate the album, and it kind of brings me a little bit of mood when it comes to the album cover. Well, the album cover is a futuristic city, and these synths kind of aid in that feeling. You have the opener Caught Somewhere in Time, which again opens with this synth wave, and then it devolves into the band going full throttle, and it's really upbeat and gallopy, and I really love this. You have the hits Wasted Years and Stranger in a Strange Land, and I also really get into these tracks. They're super tight, they're very memorable. Steve has these really great bass lines that he introduces into the songs for the main riffs. I love his writing on this album. It's a shame, however, though, because Bruce doesn't really have any writing credits on this record, but it is still my favorite. I wish it wasn't sometimes, because again, not every member had a say in the writing process on this album. Even the deep cuts on this thing like Deja Vu, Heaven Can Wait, and Sea of Madness are all amazing hooks and sonically great songs. I love the writing on this album. I love the band going full throttle, and it is amazing front to back. I highly recommend if you haven't heard this record. I am putting this in the highest spot it can go in masterpiece above Power Slave. I adore this record. And next up in 1988, we have Seventh Son of a Seventh Son. This record almost does pretty much the exact same things the last one did. It has some, again, great bass writing from Steve Harris here, bringing it in for the band. Bruce has some of my favorite vocals of his on this record, especially on songs like Infinite Dreams, The Evil That Men Can Do, and The Clairvoyant. So the album starts off with Moonshine, which again, like the last album, starts off with a really cool synth wave, and then it actually gets the band going more than I would say the title track from the last record did, Caught Somewhere in Time. You have Infinite Dreams and Can I Play With Madness, which are two of my favorites from this record, as well as The Evil That Men May Do. I really adore how Maiden can write really complex songs, but yet be so memorable to listen to. In the title track, Seventh Son of a Seventh Son, it's a wonderful epic detailing the life of a child with really, really bizarre and strange abilities. It's fascinating. Then you have The Prophecy, The Clairvoyant, and Only the Good Die Young, and I really get into these songs as well. Excellent album. I am going to put it at masterpiece tier as well, and it is going in between Power Slave and Summer in Time. I prefer it more than Power Slave, but it doesn't edge out Summer in Time for me. Alright, next up in 1989, we have No Prayer for the Dying. And this is a very interesting record because at this time, Adrian Smith, one of the main guitarists of the band for the longest time, he left the band, and he was replaced with Yannick Gers. I don't know, children, look it up. But anyway, No Prayer for the Dying, it's pretty decent. It's a decent record. It gets hated on more than I think it should, but it's still pretty decent. There's some cool moments on here like Holy Smoke, Bring Your Daughter to the Slaughter. And yeah, those are kind of joke songs, but I still really get into them quite a bit. This album does take more of a hard rock approach to Maiden's style, and whether you like it or not, it is a daring choice for the band to make at this time. Some would say a very terrible choice. For me, I don't really mind it that much. It's a decent hard rocky album from the band here. I'm gonna put this in low, there's better. And next up we have Fear the Dark, and hot take for me, I think this goes in the great album tier. And honestly, I would put it above Peace of Mind. Now hear me out. The last half of Peace of Mind is very forgettable, and aside from like 2 or 3 songs on this record, I love every single song on this album, to a degree. Be Quick or Be Dead, excellent opener again with really ramped up energy, and probably the most amount of energy you will get from a Maiden opener in their entire discography. I love how fast paced it is, and it just gets you pumped. From Here to Eternity is a little goofy on the lyrics side, but I do really mess with the music, and the chorus is super catchy. And then you have the ballad Afraid to Shoot Strangers, which again, really emotional, really powerful. I enjoy the music as well as the vocal delivery here with the more of the whispers in the chorus. The songs I don't care for here are mostly The Apparition, Judas Be My Guide, and Weekend Warrior. I mean, who's gonna be like, yo man, can you put on Weekend Warrior by Iron Maiden? I'm not doing that, man. Wasting Love, The Fugitive, and Fear the Dark are songs that I really also enjoy along with the other ones that I mentioned earlier. Those are the songs that I love to come back to the most, and of course, you have the title track, Fear the Dark, which I don't need to explain. If you haven't listened to it, what are you doing here? Go click off this video and go listen to it now.
Watching horror films the night before, debating witches and folklore, the unknown troubles on your mind.
That is Fear the Dark. Great album tier. And after this, Bruce decided that he was out. He was gonna leave the band and go off and do his own solo projects, and that is what he did. And now we have Blaze Bayley of Wolfsbane come in, and let's just say it's not that great. You know what? In fact, I gotta make a new tier. I'm going to name this tier Blaze Bayley. Cause these albums are freaking boring. They are an incredible slog to get through. In fact, we're gonna start with X Factor. It's Blaze Bayley. Hi, Blaze Bayley. Listen, this album has like no redeemable things about it. I don't enjoy this that much. It sucks because even when one member leaves the band, it really does change the writing process for the band. And it really stinks on these next 2 records that I'm about to talk about. I really don't care for any songs on this record. Maybe The Edge of Darkness or Man on the Edge, but honestly, everything just takes too long to do what it needs to do, and I think it's time you guys get to the point here. I'm just not a huge fan of this record, and it goes in Blaze Bayley for me. Next up, we have Virtual 9. Now, once again, second album, and thankfully the last album with Blaze Bayley. Sorry, Blaze Bayley. And I don't like this album at all either. In fact, it has and does things worse than what the X Factor does. This album has no interesting writing moments. Most of it is either cringe or just eye-rolling. I do like the songs Future Real and The Klansman, but only because they're the hits and they have some goofy and funny things about them. The Angel and the Gambler, When Two Worlds Collide, The Educated Fool. I don't care for these songs. I don't care to go back to them or listen to them ever. I just do not enjoy these 2 albums. I think that this is going in the low Blaze Bayley tier, and this is Maiden's worst record in my opinion. So, with that being said, next record, 2000, we have Brave New World, and Bruce came back, as well as Adrian, and they also kept Yannick, who came in for No Prayer for the Dying. Wait, they have 3 guitarists? Yeah. They have 3 guitarists now. They're pretty tight, man. I am here to tell you that Brave New World is probably one of the best comeback albums a band has released. By far. Brave New World 2000. I love this record. It has great moments, front to back. It is very memorable. Considering it's a 21st century Maiden project from an older metal band, you're like, man, these guys must be way out of their prime, right? I'm here to tell you they ain't. They're coming in blazing. You have the opener, The Wicker Man, which is a very memorable opening track, and the chorus is amazing to get into. The title track, which I also get into as well, goes to The Navigator, and my personal favorite songs, Blood Brothers, Dream of Mirrors, The Fallen Angel, Out of the Silent Planet, and The Thin Line Between Love and Hate. I honestly think the writing on this album is super strong, and you will always remember these songs, even if you struggle to come back to this album a bit. You will remember these songs. They will get stuck in your head. I do think this album is actually a masterpiece tier, and it is going right in between Number of the Beast and Power Slave for me. Great moments on this album, great hook writing, just again, excellent album from this outfit. And next up we have Dance of Death after 2000's Brave New World. Dance of Death is pretty good. It's not as good as Brave New World, but it's got some decent things going for it. Rainmaker, the title track, Passchendaele, and Journeyman are my favorite songs on this album. I do get into Wildest Dreams and Gates of Tomorrow a little less because they don't entertain me as much, but all the other songs on this record are pretty decent to great at the most. Great writing from the band here once again, and honestly, probably the last great Maiden album. I'm gonna put Dance of Death behind Peace of Mind because I don't think it's as iconic as Peace of Mind. Next up we have A Matter of Life and Death, and this is where I'm starting to like kind of be done with the Maiden discography. I like the songs Different World, These Colors Don't Run, Lord of Light, and The Reincarnation of Benjamin Breek, but that's pretty much it. I do like The Legacy and The Pilgrim, but other than that, all the songs are pretty forgettable in my opinion, and you shouldn't go back to them. This album does mark the downfall, I feel, of Maiden's pretty good writing track, and I feel that this track is not going to get any better anytime soon. So with that being said, A Matter of Life and Death is going above in the There's Better tier. And next up we have The Final Frontier. This is where I'm done listening to Maiden. I'm checked out of listening to Maiden. This and the next album really bore me. You have the opening track Satellite 15 / The Final Frontier, and the first 4 minutes out of the 8 in this song, it opens with a little bit of synth, Bruce doing this little chant, and then a weird drum beat, and I don't get into it as much. It breaks my immersion. I do like El Dorado, Isle of Avalon, The Talisman, and When the Wild Wind Blows, but other than that, I don't care for this album. I don't think it's worth of note at all, which is why I'm feeling a meh tier. Next up, we have The Book of Souls in 2015, and honestly, I don't think this album should have been an hour and a half long. Absolutely not. I do like the tracks If Eternity Should Fail, Speed of Light, Death or Glory, Shadows of the Valley, and Empire of the Clouds. But honestly, the rest of the songs are too long and too boring to keep my attention going, and I don't really come back to this Maiden album ever, which is why I am feeling a meh tier. It is better than The Final Frontier, but not that much. And finally, we have Senjutsu. Senjutsu's actually pretty decent. It's got some pretty decent tracks, and it does things better than the previous 2 records did. Senjutsu is the latest release from this band, and we have songs on here like Days of Future Past, Senjutsu, Darkest Hour, and The Writing on the Wall, which are all great tracks in my opinion, and are better moments of writing here than compared to the last 2 records. Now, of course, you have songs like The Parchment and Death of the Celts that I really don't get into. They are too long, too drawn out, and I think they should have been cut entirely from this record. And again, more filler on this Iron Maiden album that I feel like didn't need to be there at all. Which is why I am feeling a There's Better tier. I'm gonna put it in between A Matter of Life and Death and No Prayer for the Dying. That's my tier list, guys. What do you think? Comment down below if you agree or disagree with me. NoseNation's here, hitting you with those great albums, good albums, bad albums, really bad albums. I'll see you guys in the next one.